Thinking about purchasing your first home in 2025? You're not alone. The market has changed and you will need a solid plan to navigate it successfully. Hi, my name is moneymadu, NMLS number 2246741. I'm a licensed loan originator and FHA 203 HUD consultant. In this video today, we'll be going over how the 2025 market is affecting new home buyers. We'll also be discussing the different loan types that are available for you, as well as the different mortgage strategies that are out there. We'll be going into first-time homebuyer programs and grants that are available for you that you might not know about, as well as the common mistakes that you want to avoid as a first-time homebuyer. By the end of this video, you will confidently be able to purchase your first home. Let's get right into it. In the 2025 market overview, home prices are expected to stabilize after increasing exponentially over the last few years. So between 2021 and 2024, you've seen right after COVID, home prices have really increased. So the anticipation is that this year, home prices stabilize. Interest rates remain a key factor in this decision. Many people want to know, is now the right time to lock in your interest rate? At the end of the day, it really goes back to it all depends. A lot of news media say that interest rates are expected to go down. Who really knows if that's really going to happen? At the end of the day, all you can do is figure out what you're pre-approved for in the range that is going for today, and then understand if that works. Now, if interest rates decide to go lower, there's always the opportunity to then refinance later, but that's never a guaranteed. So if the numbers make sense for you now, there's still strategies for you to get a lower interest rate, and we'll also go over that in this video. Now, also understand that buyer demand is shifting in this market. So how does this impact you as a first-time home buyer? So before, during the COVID timeframe, it was considered what's called a seller's market, meaning the sellers had the upper hand. If seller put a house on a market, typically there'll be multiple offers on that home. Now, currently is now considered a buyer's market because if a home goes out on the market, a lot of people are not getting multiple offers because they're kind of listing it kind of high. And so sellers are now more inclined to give you what's called seller concessions or seller credits to allow you as a buyer to buy a home. So honestly, as a buyer, even though interest rates are high, these are the times that you are actually able to negotiate something that works well in your favor, because a lot of sellers, especially right now, unfortunately, are in this phase where they have to give up more than they typically might want to. And so that gives you as a buyer more of a leg up in this market. So even though interest rates are high, this is the time to negotiate, because when interest rate drops, that means more buyers in the market. That means things get more competitive, and then it turns into a seller's market. So again, home prices are projected to stabilize after past increase over the last few years. Interest rates, I'm expecting them to stay about the same. They're in the 6 to 7% range right now. I think that they'll stay around that range. If it goes down, it won't go down to more than 5%. But again, understand that there are ways for you to get it down to that 5% range as well. And then, yeah, we're in the buyer's market, so there's a lot of negotiating power for you as a buyer. So the key takeaway that I want you to have here is that in 2025, there's going to be more opportunities for negotiation than there is in the past few years. All right, so a little bit about me. Again, my name is moneymadu. I'm a licensed loan originator based here in Houston, Texas. I'm licensed in Houston, but if you're purchasing an investment property, I can help anyone in any of the 50 states. I'm also a licensed FHA 203K HUD consultant, meaning if you are renovating a home and you need an inspector to make sure that things are being done correctly, you would hire me as well. So I do have knowledge in fixing and flipping homes, inspecting homes, and giving advice as far as what people need to do to get financing for their homes. So my goal here is simply to make sure that you understand what is the best route for you to go when you're purchasing a home, because I've gone through the process myself, and with purchasing a home, that's typically one of your biggest purchases that you will ever make. And I want to make that process as seamless as possible for you. So that's a little bit about myself. You can contact me at ogamadu@topchoicelending.net. Or you can always go to yougotpreapproved.com. So you can also book a one-on-one strategy call with myself. All right, so what is step one in the home buyer process? The step one is simply get pre-approved first. I know a lot of people, the first thing is they want to go find a realtor. They think that realtor is the first step. The realtor is not the first step. To be honest, the realtor is the second step. The first step you want to do is get pre-approved first. You don't want to waste the realtor's time by having them show you houses and you not knowing if you can actually afford that house. So what you want to do is you want to get with a lender or a mortgage broker such as myself, and we will get you pre-approved for a home. So what is pre-approval and why is pre-approval essential? So pre-approval is really much determining how much home that you as a buyer can afford, right? And so in your head, you might think that you are able to buy a $400,000 house, and then you go into a situation where you might go with a realtor, y'all put in an offer, and then when you come to me, come to find out you're only able to qualify 300,000. Now you're in a situation where you've wasted the realtor's time, you wasted the seller's time, all because you didn't know if you were actually being able to qualify. So first things first, you want to get pre-approved in a home. What does a pre-approval do? It lets the sellers know that you are serious and you are financially ready to purchase the home. So what we're doing is we're collecting all the information that we need up front so that we'll say that, okay, Mr. XYZ is able to afford this $400,000 home. So now you as a buyer are able to confidently submit offers to different homes at $400,000 or less without anything in the back of your head saying that, oh, maybe can I afford this? Can I not afford this? And then lastly, it locks in an interest rate for a certain period. So you definitely want to get pre-approved first. But what I'm going to do, and this is a secret that many people might not be able to tell you, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you because, again, my whole situation here is to make sure that everybody understands how to get into a home. And so the easiest way to understand about what you're looking at as far as your pre-approval amount, something you could do is like, let's just say, for example, you make $8,000 a month, right? So you got to times that by 0.3, which is 30%. So if you times that by 0.3, that comes out to $2,400, right? And so with $2,400, you're going to times that by 150. That is going to give you $360,000. So this would be a good range to see that I'll be able to, if I bring in $8,000 a month, I would be able to comfortably afford $360,000 worth of house. Now, you understand there's going to be a variable. We haven't calculated for debts and things of that nature. So that number could go up by $10,000 to $15,000, and that number could go down $10,000 to $15,000. But that gives you kind of like a game plan in your head to be like, okay, I'm around this range. If I do get a pre-approved, I'll probably be around here. And so at the end of the day, you still need to go with a lender to get pre-approved so that we see the exact numbers of what's going on. But it's good to have this little information here that allows you to see where you are at. All right, so what do you need for a pre-approval? So typically what we ask or require from you as a buyer is your last two tax returns and last 2 year tax returns and W-2s, your most recent pay stubs. So typically your last two pay stubs and your last two bank statements. And then what we will do is a credit score check. And so for FHA loans, typically the minimum is 580. It actually goes down to 500, but you're looking at putting 10% down at that phase. And then for conventional, you are looking at 620 credit score. And then lastly, just proof of employment. And so with these, that allow us to see the income that's coming in. With the credit score check, some lenders, and you can ask this, some lenders do what's called a soft credit pull. And so the soft credit pull doesn't affect it's not a hard hit. So your credit score doesn't go down. So if you are working with a lender and you're worried about your credit being hit, then you can request a soft credit pull, and that will allow the lender to see about where you're at with your credit. And so pro tip here, you want to work on improving your credit before applying so that you can get a lower interest rate. So the higher your credit, the better your interest rate would be. So the difference between having a 580 and a 680 is literally percentage points higher, which saves you literally hundreds of dollars in interest, which comes out to thousands of dollars over the life of a loan. So you really want your credit score to be higher than 680 and above. That way you're getting the best terms possible. So again, get your credit score as high as you can. 680 and above is really, really where you want to be. Next is understanding the different loan types. So there's 4 main loans when you're purchasing a home, especially as a first-time home buyer. So you have the FHA, you have a conventional loan, you have the VA loan, and you have the USDA loan. With the FHA loan, this is typically what most people, when they're considered first-time home buyers, they go with. You're looking at putting about 3.5% down here, and the flexibility is it works with people who have lower credit. And so typically you go down here, you're at 580 is the minimum. Again, like I mentioned before, you could go down to 500, but the down payment would now be 10% instead of 3.5%. Next is conventional. Like I said, the very bare minimum for conventional is 620. If you're a first-time home buyer, you could be looking at putting 3% down, depending on your income. Typically, for conventional, you are about the 5% range. I would say between 3 to 5% is your minimum down payment if you're going with a conventional loan. 20%, that's whenever you're talking about investing. So if you're buying a property for investment purposes, you're typically looking between 15 to 20%. Now, if you are a veteran, you like credit score doesn't matter as much, but you definitely want to have it over 580. But now you're looking at 0% down payment. So if you are in the military, buying a home is great because again, you're not dealing with down payment and your interest rate typically is lower and your property taxes are lower. So that you're just saving so much money if you're a veteran. So if you're a veteran, try your best to buy a home. Try your best to buy a home. This is just really a great opportunity to get wealth or build wealth without having to pay as much in, down payment, property taxes, closing costs, things of that nature. And then lastly, you have the USDA loan. So typically you have to have a credit score of 640 and above, but the caveat is you don't have to put a down payment down. The thing here is you have to buy a rural home. So you're not going to find, you can't use a USDA loan if you live in a metropolis or a big city. You have to kind of go out to the suburbs a little bit. And so I'll put it in the description, but there are places that you can look what qualifies under what's considered rural in your county that will qualify for a USDA loan. All right, it's here. So the key takeaways would be FHA loans are great for first-time home buyers with lower credit, while conventional loans offer more flexibility with stronger credit. So first-time home buyer programs and grants. What assistance is available in 2025? Well, typically there is what's called down payment assistance, which can cover partial or all of your down payment. Now, with down payment assistance, these are typically second liens. So there are options for it to be forgiven, but for most down payment assistance programs, you're just taking out a second lien. If you're doing a 30-year loan, the down payment assistance might be around 10 years. You're paying it back, right, over time. So I always say if you're able to afford the home without having to do down payment assistance, do that, because in all honesty, it will be cheaper for you on the front end. Like doing down payment assistance is really if you are in a bind, but you're really wanting to get the home, because interest rates typically be higher when you're dealing with down payment assistance, and everything kind of goes into the back end of the loan. So there are availability with the down payment assistance. If you look in your local state or county, there are first-time home buyer tax credits up to $15,000, depending whatever legislation is happening currently. Your employer, depending on where you work, they typically might have some kind of home buyer incentive for you. Whenever I was working for a company in the oil and gas field, help with relocation costs and things like that helped with the down payment whenever I ended up purchasing my home whenever I moved back to the Houston area. There's typically state-specific assistance programs. So many states have low-interest loan programs for first-time home buyers. So you just have to go to, and this is something that you can really Google, just be like, whatever your state is, assistance programs, and you'll be able to Google that and see if there are any home buyer low interest rate loan programs for a first-time home buyer such as yourself. So make sure that you check out your state's housing finance agency website for those specific programs. All right, so let's go into the cost of buying a home, right? So what are the typical costs of buying a home? So with the expenses that you will be looking at, typically you're looking at your down payment, you're looking at closing costs, you're looking at a home inspection, as well as your moving expenses. And so whenever I purchased my first home, the only cost I really thought about was the down payment. I did not know about closing costs, right? Home inspection, moving expenses, that was a thing. But like closing costs was the one cost that I just did not think about. Luckily for me, I was good with saving my money, so I was able to cover that. But just to understand, there's multiple expense types. So just as you know, a cost range for you to have in your head whenever you are dealing with that down payment, you're looking between 3%. Again, for a conventional loan, your first-time home buyer, up to 20% if you are investor. So that's for purchasing a home. Again, there are 0% if you are a veteran or you are using the USDA loan. Closing costs are typically, and I just say 3%, between 2 to 5% of a home. That deals with, your title fees, collecting property taxes, doing appraisals. Those things go into your closing costs. So it's kind of like whatever the purchase price of your amount, just times that by 0.3, and that's what you can expect to pay in closing costs. Again, there's strategies, especially if you're a really good realtor, that can negate some of these costs, but just in the back of your head, just understand there's closing costs would be about 3% of your home price. Home inspection, that's typically between $300 to $600, and then moving expenses, depending on where you're from or where you're going, $1,000 you could just budget in. So understand that there are multiple costs. It's not just the down payment. There are multiple costs in purchasing a home. Now, pro tip. It says some lenders, but most lenders allow gift funds for family for down payment and closing costs. So say if you don't have all the money to close on a home, you can be gifted the down payment, or you can be gifted money to go toward paying either closing costs or your down payment. Now, if you don't want your family's business to be looked at, what you want to do is have your family member send whatever funds directly to the title company. If it's sent directly to the title company, the lender would not start asking where did these funds come from, and then start asking about bank statements and things like that for your family members. All right, next, it is finding the right home, right? And so how do you search for the house that you really, really want? So you can use multiple online platforms. So typically you'll go to Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor.com, or depending on where you live, they typically have an MLS, a multiple listing services. In Houston, ours is HAR. But yeah, when you're working with a realtor, they can allow you to see that. Next, you'll want to work with a trusted real estate agent, someone that's able to negotiate, someone that's very experienced, and that can work on your behalf to get you as much money off of the home and work in your best interest. So you really want to consider the location, what the value of the neighborhood is looking at, and then the neighborhood quality. Also, if you are looking to have a family, schools is another thing that you want to look at that's in your area as well. And then is making an offer. So how to make a strong offer. Again, first thing you want to do is get pre-approved before you make any offer, so you know exactly what you can offer. And then you want to offer a fair but competitive pricing based off of market conditions, right? And so typically your realtor can be able to run what's considered comps. And so sometimes, whatever home that you're looking at, they might have it listed a little bit higher, but you can come in at a price that makes sense, goes based off of most recent sales. And then you also want to factor in, repair costs. So if you're going to need to fix something out in the home that might cost like $10,000, you can negotiate to say, hey, instead of me paying $400,000, I'll pay $390,000 because it's going to cost me $10,000 to fix this home. Or you could do a situation where it's like, okay, I'll still pay the $400,000, but I need you to give me seller credit back of $10,000 because I'm going to need to fix this in the home that's cost like $10,000. So this is where working with a really good agent that can negotiate on your behalf is going to be very, very important, because you don't want to overpay for a home, right? But you want to make sure that you're getting the best deal possible, and working with an experienced agent will allow you to do that. So the closing process, the final steps before closing. So you want to get a home inspection, you want to get a final appraisal. Loan is going to go into underwriting and get approved. And so conditions will come back. The lender will work with you to get those conditions cleared out from the underwriter. And these things can be simple stuff. They might need updated pay stubs from you, or a letter explaining why something was on your credit and now it's off. Just small little things. And then title search by the title company will be done, and they'll verify that the homeowner's insurance that you have is accurate. And then last thing you do, you'll sign off the final documents at the closing table. So you want to make sure that you don't, and this is very important, do not avoid taking on any new debt or open up any credit card accounts before closing day. Why is this important? Because a lot of people, they want to buy furniture, they might try to buy a new car. Don't do that. You have to wait till after you buy the house, because if you take on new debt, that means what you can afford is now lower. And so if let's just say you decide to buy a car, and the car is now an additional $500 a month, you just decreased your purchase price by over $100,000 by you taking on a new $500 note. So make sure that you wait till after you close on a home before taking on any new debt. This is very, 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 very important. All right, so what are the common mistakes first-time home buyers make? Again, not being pre-approved before starting the home buying process, overestimating what you can afford, forgetting about closing costs and extra fees. Again, like I said, I wasn't forgetting, I just didn't know. So understand that there are extra fees. Ignoring home inspections. Always get a home inspection. Never waive the home inspection. You never know what's going to do. I don't care how competitive the market is. Do not waive off home inspections. Always get it done. And then making big financial changes before closing. So that's changing jobs, or quitting your job before, or buying a car. Like, all that stuff you do not want to do before closing. If stuff like that has happened, make sure you talk to your lender. We're here. We're on your side. Do not try to do these things thinking that, we're going to find out. So make sure you talk to us beforehand so we can strategize, or let you know if you can or cannot do something. Please. And so, again, last key takeaway, make sure you plan wisely, work with the right professionals, right? The right lender, the right realtor, and stay within your budget. You don't want to buy at the top, especially because a lot of people think that once they purchase a home, everything stays the same, especially if you use a fixed interest rate. Your property taxes and your escrow can go up due to the county saying that your house is worth more, and your homeowner's insurance start going up. These are the two ways that your monthly payment is able to increase. So you always want to make sure that you fight or you protest your property taxes every year, because sometimes if that decides to increase and you didn't fight it, now your monthly payment is going up and you're wondering why you can't afford your monthly payment. So make sure you keep that in mind. All right, so final thoughts and next steps. If you're ready to buy a home, make sure you get it pre-approved. You can come and get pre-approved with my team. You can go to yougotpreapproved.com. If you're not ready, you can schedule a one-on-one home loan readiness consult with me. Go to my description and you can click the link there. And then next, if you are ready, you can go shopping for your home with your realtor. And then once you find a home, you can write an offer. We'll help you close the loan. So again, if this is something that interests you, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for more real estate tips. And make sure you share this with someone that you believe could learn from this information.